Good morning, welcome to our sanctuary, and welcome to everybody on Zoom this morning. My name is Martha Ward, and I am a practitioner here at Wellspring and part of your Sunday service team. We have a few announcements to make. Early Birds meet Sunday mornings at 9:30 via Zoom. The link is in the weekly email and on the website. Upcoming speakers for September, we have Randy Granger with us today. On the 12th, Reverend Kamatara. It will be here on the 19th, Jeannie Geringer, and on the 26th, Edward Burlbar. The Board of Trustees will meet this Wednesday, September 8th, via Zoom at 6:30. If you are interested in participating in that meeting, contact Edward and he will send you a link. And lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. You may submit a request via our webpage, or you may contact Martha Ward or Geneva Collins with your request. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesdays at 4:15, and you may consider sitting in your quiet space during that time. We know we are one in spirit, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. So, I invite you to join with me in settling in and quieting our brains. And it is with great gratitude that I am here this morning on this Labor Day weekend. And I will invite everyone to join with me in our contemplation of that great spirit that is present throughout the world, throughout the universe, that one great force that is the Creator, living around, in, through, around, and as each and every one of us. So we are here this morning as sparks from that one flame, united with Spirit and with one another. And we're also united with all of those from our community who are not here present. And on this Labor Day weekend, I'd like us to turn our attention to all of the members of the world that participate in making our life work for us. All of the people who pave the roads and who have kept the grocery stores open during this pandemic, and for all of the individuals who have manned the hospitals at all levels. Everyone is so important. And we are grateful for the people that keep our roads open and functioning, that keep our environment clean and habitable. And in great gratitude, I know that we are one with Spirit, one with one another. And so it is. And now please stand if you're able and join us in our song of joy.
Judy, can you swing the camera around for pointing at me and Mary? Well, today's a new month. Sure is. And that means we have a new song of joy. When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing along, along, there'll be no more sobbing when he starts thrumming his own sweet song. I listen for hours and hours. I'm just a kid again, doing what I did again, singing a song. When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing along. When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing along, along. There'll be no more sobbing when he starts throbbing his old sweet song. Wake up, you sleepy head. Get up, get out of bed. Cheer up, the sun is red. Love, laugh and be happy. What if I've been blue? Now I'm walking through fields of flowers. Rain may listen, but still I listen for hours and hours. I'm just a kid again, doing what I did again, singing a song. When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing along.
Thank you. Please be seated and let us read together our vision, mission, and affirmation. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, living fellowship, and service. Our affirmation: I see and acknowledge the Okay, thank you. And this morning we have a wonderful treat. We have very special music from Reverend Randy. And so please welcome him now.
Well, that was quick. I was still bob, bob, bobbing. Good morning. In honor of Labor Day, I do a little, we call it a smash up these days, a medley. There we go. I hear the crying of the hungry in the deserts where they're wandering. Hear them crying out for heaven's own benevolence upon them. Hear destructive power prevailing. I hear fools falsely aiming to the crooked wits of tyrants when they call. I hear them all, I hear them all, I land is your land, this land is my land. From California to New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. Let's sing it again. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Oh, this land was made for you and me. Oh, this land was made for you and me.
The reading this morning is taken from Creative Ideas by Ernest Holmes. The chapter is New Ideas and Creativity Are Mine. Since God is all there is, the only presence, the only power, and the only mind or intelligence, when we conceive a new idea, we are thinking directly from the creativity of God. It is not our isolated, limited human personality that projects the new idea. We are merely the instrument through which this projection takes place. God is the only creator. There is nothing else besides. God is both the inventor of the game and those who play it, the author and the actor, the song and the singer. Out of our limitless creativity of God, I accept the flow of ideas. My whole consciousness is alive, awake, and aware to them. I am impregnated with new ideas, and they shall bear fruit according to the divine pattern contained within them. Today, I expect new ways of doing things. I expect everything in my experience to enlarge, deepen, and broaden. I expect more good, more enthusiasm, more accomplishment than ever before. There now opens up before me a world of new ideas, new thoughts, new people, and new situations. Today is a new beginning. The divine influx now makes this day expansive and expressive of the creative source of all things. And so it is. And so, with great pleasure, I yield to Reverend Randy Granger.
Thank you so much, Martha. And also thank you for your opening words about the workers. We learned quite a bit how essential little things like going to the grocery store and cleaning hospital bedpans is. And I certainly appreciate that I came from a family of really hard workers. So today I'm talking about guidance and intuition and how we use it and what it is and where it comes from and how to recognize it. I'm going to start with a story of my own, but funny enough, you know, we're always getting signs, right? Whether we ask for them or whether we don't. So as I'm driving up today along Elks, I think that's Elks out there, right? I'm driving along and I'm suddenly about in Doña Ana at that little gas station, and I thought, wait a minute, I missed my exit, you know? So I thought, what? So I got my phone out and I plugged it in and it said turn around, and I thought, well, how did I miss it? Well, I turned around, the sign for Taylor is gone. The street sign's gone. So I said, okay, I don't feel so stupid. Well, but several years ago. It was 2 GPS units ago and 2 vehicles ago. I was on tour somewhere and I was driving along, and I don't even know where I was, to be honest, but I was kind of lost. I thought this doesn't look right. This doesn't seem right. So I got my GPS out, and I think it was a Garmin at the time, and I plugged something in. So I started to go on the road, and I swear to you, my GPS voice, I'd never heard this before or since. It said something like, "Are you sure you're on the right path?" And I said, "What do you mean?" You know, like in general, am I? God, and I thought there was a little bit attitude in her tone, and so I was asking myself, what does she know that I don't know, you know? And so it was just a good time, and I thought, gosh, you know, I have to really think about what I'm doing here. So I plugged it in, then I went back on, and like I said, I've never heard it since. That GPS unit quit working shortly after that. So, but it's all about guidance, and so I think sometimes about guidance, we need to ask who's doing the guiding, who's doing the navigating, and who's doing the driving. I'm of Native American ancestry, and I just had a nice conversation in the rec hall over there with somebody who was having dreams about lions and tigers and bears that were purring, you know, and so we were talking about that, and I was thinking, well, you know, I'm Native American ancestry, so we see guidance everywhere. I mean, everything's, whether it's in a dream or whether you're on the road, like for instance, if it's a raven or a snake or a coyote or a roadrunner that you see on the road. And don't even get me started when we dream about owls or see an owl, we try to look away. We're thinking, oh no, they're gonna take our soul. You know, not really, but you know, it's just the way I learned it. But the other morning, I was out really early. I've been walking about 5 in the mornings now just to avoid the heat. And I felt something looking at me, so I looked over there, and a black cat was just sitting there watching me. I go a little further, and I hear this eek, and I think, where's that noise coming from? And I look up, and there is a hawk, a red-tailed hawk, on top of a dead pine tree. And it turned its neck around, and it looked at me too. And it had a couple other things, and I thought, my gosh, you know, what's going on? So I was asking, what do all these signs mean? And I told myself, I have no idea. But my dreams are also so filled and so vivid with all kinds of signs and messages that, you know that I could have my own Netflix series if I just kept some kind of journal on it. But what I find is I am pretty guided by intuition and by instinct all the time, and I really have taught myself, and I've learned to pay attention to it. And it's what I find out, it's when I ignore that intuition is when I invite kind of, you know, suffering or worse. But I do want to talk about this, but first I kind of want to give you I want to tell a story about a time that I asked and in fact paused and begged for guidance, and I got it in a really dramatic way. So this is 2021, which is kind of hard to believe, but it's a 10-year anniversary of my partner's passed from pancreatic cancer. It had been a really rough ride with trips to MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston back and forth, and chemotherapy, and finding and buying a new home, prepping the current home for sale, caregiving, hospital appointments, having to cancel my tours and my promotions, all to be a caregiver. Pretty much all the major stressors you can have in life in a short amount of time. And so the day after he passed, I was just a mess, because it had been really hard, it had been really stressful. And so it was all that stress and all that grief just kind of waylaid me, and it just really wouldn't let me move on physically or emotionally or spiritually. And so I've desperately been asking for some kind of guidance, some kind of sign, just like we usually do when we lose someone. And so I was just there, and I thought, I really need a sign to help me out. And then my doorbell rang, and then I thought, I don't want to answer that. I don't know who it is, but I don't want to answer it. And then there's some big knocks around the door, so I eventually get up and I answer it. And it's my snowbird next door neighbor. And he's demanding to know what me and my friends were doing on his roof yesterday, you know. And so I said, who are you again? And he said, I live next door. I want to know what you and your friends were doing on my roof next door. I said, you know, I don't have a ladder. So and I didn't have any friends here yesterday. So go home, you know. And so I had a few other words for him. But then I stopped and I said, wait a minute, who said I was on your roof? He said, oh, well, it was Connie. She lives across the cul-de-sac over there. I said, oh, yeah, I think I've met her. I went to her garage sale once. And he said, it was Connie, but she may have been drinking that banana liqueur that we got her in Jamaica last year. You know, and I thought, okay. So I said, hey, can you give me her phone number? He said, yeah, I'll come back. And so I got her phone number. But first I went for a walk around my neighborhood, and I was just trying to clear my head, trying to get some space. I was affirming over and over, I'm guided, I'm guarded by love alone and all is will. All these affirmations that we learn in the New Thought movement and that are very effective, but I was just asking for all this guidance. And so by the time I came home, I was still kind of an emotional mess. And I walked through the door and I put my hat down, and out of habit, I looked over to the bedroom where my partner had been in the bed. And well, he wasn't there anymore, but then all of a sudden it hit me like a wave of surrender. That was him. That was him on the roof. So I called Connie. I said, hey, Connie, this is Randy. The first thing that I asked her, this is really funny. I said, are you sensitive? She said, well, what do you mean? I said, are you sensitive? And she said, well, if somebody hurts my feelings, I am. I said, no, that's not what I meant. I said, have you ever died and come back? She said, yeah, several times. How did you know? I said, well, because usually people who have done that can see this other realm. She didn't know what I was talking about. And I said, well, that guy, Lou, said that some people were up on his roof. And she said, yo, it was just one person up on his roof. And I called him, and I couldn't believe he was up there. I said, well, what did he look like? And she said, well, he was kind of tall and skinny. I said, well, what was he wearing? And she described what he was wearing. The reason I asked that is because no one else knew that I had put him in this different clothing, in this different outfit. Because when they took him out, it was in one of those blue velvet funeral home bags. And so no one had seen him. And in fact, the last poem, his book of poetry that he was working on was called Dancing on the Roof. So I said, ding, 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 So then I said, what was he doing? And she said, he looked like the guy from the Music Man, his knees were up and tall. And I said, oh, that's great. That means he'd been able to use his legs, which he hadn't been able to for the last month, And so to me, that was guidance. That was a time when, it was a dramatic guidance. I don't necessarily like them that dramatic, but I paid attention, and I put three and three together, and it came up as 6. Viktor Frankl, the writer, has famously written, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And in fact, the space between experience and response, in my experience, is where the guidance truly exists. If you think about it, there's a pause everywhere. There's a space in between mountain climbers' footfalls that they'll tell you about. The space between breaths, the rest between heartbeats. There is a pause for growth in all of nature, between sowing and growing and blossom and fruit, between the seasons, between conception and gestation and maturity. But humans, we're impatient. And when we want guidance, we want it now. We want spiritual guidance to be like Google guidance. Hey, Siri, I hope nobody's phone turns on. Hey, Siri, I'm wanting to make a major life change. What do I do? And Siri will answer like my GPS did. Are you sure you're on the right path? But when we pause for guidance, it's a process of divine time. But how do we discern that genuine guidance? Carl Jung wrote, there is a deep need in the world just now for guidance, almost any sort of spiritual guidance. And Chief White Eagle of the Ponca tribe, he wrote this once, when you're in doubt, be still and wait. When doubt no longer exists for you, then go forward with courage. So long as mists envelop you, be still until the sunlight pours through and dispels the mist, as it surely will. Then act, and act with courage. And when I read this, it seems almost like he's saying to meditate. Sit still until the clouds dissipate. We have no way of really knowing how long
that it will take. So, but when we act in moments that are cloudy is when we tend to usually get in trouble and make decisions that aren't for our highest good or for anyone else's. We're essentially kind of flying by blind. So it's good to devote a part of your life to cultivating and maintaining clarity, discernment, all those beautiful words, because this is what will lead to peace and happiness. And when we finally get there, when we get that clarity, don't hesitate. You have to act then. You have to know that there's a truth that's within you. Know that you're right and that doing and acting is good. So you stand up, move forward, and you act with courage. That's what Chief Punka, he ended with. So when are times that we might need spiritual guidance? One is to answer our prayers or our questions, or to know what to do about a pandemic or a job change or a life change. Maybe to help us make some decisions, create new ideas, maybe to detour us or steer us in the right direction, but also maybe guidance to offer some comfort and some love and some support. So the process for spiritual guidance, well, the first step is ask. We always have to ask. When we need help with any other thing, we ask for help. Spirit is no different. It responds to our call, waiting all the time, just waiting for us to ask. And so when asking for guidance, I always include in divine time, this be done in the best way for the highest good of all. And when you add that caveat all the time, in the best way for the highest good of all, you're being more inclusive with the guidance. So the next step after ask is to pause. Go ahead and pause and trust and have faith that it's going to be answered in divine time. But you have to look for those signs. You have to be aware for nudges and intuition. Maybe a conversation, maybe a podcast, maybe a program that you watch, maybe a dream that you have. We wait and look for those signs for guidance. In other words, be aware and be awake. Surrender. Nothing is more important than getting out of our own way. Ego will fight you every step of the way because ego needs us to think that ego is in control and can fix anything simply by blaming it on everyone else who ever hurt us. But just say to ego, oh, hello there, ego. How are you? Nice to see you. Now go and love. Next is be in attention. Like I said, we have to pay attention. And it's not pay attention. I don't really like that term. I like to give attention. Give attention. When I'm on the road, it's constantly being aware of situations. Should I take this exit in Texas where they specialize in taxidermy, or should I go to the next exit? Do I have enough gas? And so I'm asking myself, is this fear-based? Is this protection, or is this love-based? And then I try to really pay attention and listen to it. But it's giving attention, being in attention all the time. But the other aspect of this is, in my opinion, spend as much time in nature as you possibly can, because our intuition, our ancestors' instincts and intuition were developed in nature. We've only been housed, not that long. When you think about how long humans have been around, 260 million years or so, well, we've only been in shelters for a small amount of time. So spend as much time in nature as you can and ask questions, but also try to cultivate feelings of gratitude and joy and appreciation, because those help you move up the emotional guidance scale, which is a great tool. But the more receptive we are to that joy and that appreciation and gratitude, well, then we're going to be more open to that intuition. This is a meditation from Ernest Holmes that I like from his book, The Art of Life. And it says, I know that God is within me. I know that the spirit within me is perfect. And I enter into its peace and I am secure in its protection. The unerring judgment of divine intelligence directs my way. Ernest Holmes, he was one of those people who never equivocated, never even allowed doubt to get in. He has a whole chapter about deny what isn't real. Look only to what's real, and I really like that. There's this cool technique that I use called the appreciation game, You can do it by yourself, or you can do it with other friends, but do it when you have feelings of anxiety or that you're out of control or maybe stressed over the news or life or a pandemic or just in a bad mood. Then play this game. What you do is you declare to yourself silently or out loud, if you're able to, things like, I appreciate all the people who are supporting me. I appreciate all the love that's in my life. I appreciate the home that I have. I appreciate the shoes on my feet. I appreciate the meal on the table in front of me. I appreciate my community, my country, my land, my abundance. In other words, make it personal if you need to. You don't have to use just those, but I think you get the gist of it. It's about changing that direction out of anxiety and fear and doing what you can to correct that ship. And I appreciate, I value, I'm thankful for. Those are great ways to start any kind of word. So go down this list every day, several times a day, if you're having a particularly challenging time, or a fear-based story, or a toxic situation with somebody. And as you move up the emotional scale, you'll become more magnetic to signs and to guidance. And if doubt creeps in, meditate. Meditate on God, the divine, the spirit, love, or use affirmations. I love affirmations. I say them every day, all the time. One of the ones I say pretty often is, I am at peace with the world in which I live. I am at home in the divine spirit in which I am immersed. That centers me and roots me into the true source. Sometimes they ask, what is my next, I can't say it now, but what is my next best step? I also ask, what wisdom is my soul seeking here? But now keep in mind that we're always being guided with every little thing, like, should I turn here? Should I turn there? Should I buy this? Should I buy that? And keep in mind that when we ask for guidance, it will come to us. So just like I said, listen. Sometimes we'll call it intuition. We might call it knowledge or wisdom or understanding or insight or instinct. Doesn't matter. It's all from the same source. But it's important to cultivate all of these. And the more we practice them, they become like muscle memory. You know, like when I was playing the song a little bit earlier, I had no idea what chords I was playing because I've forgotten what the chords are because I played it for so long. And I'm sure this young man does it on the piano there too. You don't think about it, right? It's just muscle memory. So we have to practice these in order to have the same experience. So in short, you have to learn and you have to know to have knowledge. But you have to make a knowledgeable choice to gain wisdom. Then you have to practice that choice to gain understanding. And finally, practice that choice consistently to gain insight and act on intuition. There's a great quote that I found from the author and the medium, Anton St. Martin, and he says, intuition goes before you, showing you the way. Emotions follow behind to let you know when you go astray. Listen to your inner voice. It is the calling of your spiritual GPS system, seeking to keep you on track towards your true destiny. So if you'd go ahead and get comfortable, put your feet on the floor if you're able to, and close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And just take some meaningful breaths. In other words, breathe from your belly. Count to 4 as you're breathing in, then pause, and count to 5 as you breathe out. And now ask yourself, is there some guidance going on? Is there some intuition that's telling you something? Is there something you've been needing to make a decision on or wanting some guidance or some wisdom about? And just ask divine, ask spirit, what is my next best step? And I'll end with a Native American prayer that to me surmises how I want to walk through this life. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made and my ears sharp to your voice. Make me wise so that I may understand the things you have taught my people. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and every rock. I seek strength, not to be greater than my brother, but to fight against enemy, myself. Make me always ready to come